Hello, this is Pastor Jonathan, and we are ready for day number 30 of our Bible study of the day, of the Bible verse of the day. And today's a really simple one. It's a really good one, great advice, and a good message on it. But to be honest with you, there's not really a lot of symbols. There's only 2 symbols on it and just one color. So it's going to be a short one, which is good. Many times, we don't have to look. This is one of the I would say one of the rules or one of the lessons that you need to learn in interpreting the Bible. Many times you don't have to try to find something, wow, such a huge revelation. Sometimes the Bible is saying what it's saying. There's not necessarily a big, profound, hidden revelation on it. But like in this case, you're going to see there's just one powerful revelation on it. And that basically takes or overflows the whole verse and almost the whole chapter. This whole chapter is just there's an overflow of one main idea, one main message, and we're going to see it right now. It's 1 Corinthians. I'm going to put it in the screens so we can start studying together and we can see it together and highlight it and make the annotations that we need to do to it. Okay, so let's put it on the screens. Okay, here we are, and the Bible verse is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1, and it says, "If I speak with tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong of a clanging cymbal." A clanging cymbal. Let's read it again. It says, "If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong and a clanging cymbal." Is that how you say that word, clanging? Well, it's a noise, right? It's a big clang. And it's interesting because this whole chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, is what we call in people that know the Bible and have read the Bible and in Bible circles, this chapter is called the chapter of love. This whole chapter is a chapter that, for example, is read in weddings, is read in times where you're talking about love. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1 is talking about love. In this verse specifically, even though it talks about speaking in tongues, tongues of men, tongues of angel, the central idea and the central message of this verse and the whole chapter, so the context of it, it also tells you it's talking about love. That's why there's really not much about. The other observation you need to make is the observation of the whole book. The whole book of the first book of Corinthians, or the letter of Paul, from the Apostle Paul to the Corinthians, is a letter of instruction, correction, and direction in terms of the gifts of the Spirit, and the use and the behaviors in church. Because this was a church that was very much in revival, alive, and doing great things, but they were missing a lot in the factor of love. They were talking, they were speaking in tongues, and they were looking at miracles and prophesying and a lot of gifts of the Spirit, but they were becoming too much emotional and not really committed in love. So that's what this Bible verse is talking about. Of course, this is not, we're just studying one verse. I need you to know that. This is not a study of the book of Corinthians. That's an awesome study. I've done that before, and it's a lot of things and a lot of theology and a lot of doctrine in the book of Corinthians. Very important book. Both of them, both epistles of Paul to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians, are really good, really powerful. Especially, I would say, starting from chapter 12, where it talks about the gifts of the Spirit, then going all the way to chapter 14, it's all correction in terms of what is happening, in terms of them speaking in tongues and doing all these things without the balance of, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? Am I just making noise? That's what Paul is saying in this message. So let's go to it. So if I speak in tongues, let me... I have my card here. I'm like, I suggest you do it. I feel, I can show you. I have a little notepad here now. I changed from the cards because I was having too many of them. So I just wanted to have one place that I could carry and just have and completely and go back easily. So I started using a notebook. So a lot of you shared with me that you were using notebooks. So I thought, hey, maybe I can do that too. The cards are useful too. I like using the cards when you are passing them immediately, because normally what I would do is I do the card and then pass it immediately to the Bible. And then I will either get rid of the card because I already have the Bible, or just archive it, just have it in our archive. Because of what we're doing here in the videos, I want to have just complete, easy access to the rest of them. So a notebook is working for that. Anyway, I wrote it here. This is today's, and it says, if I speak. So basically, there's just one annotation I did here. It's not a translation from the original. It's a little annotation that I'm going to do in this starting expression, if. So here, the Apostle Paul is just doing a supposed case. So he's just making a case. He's trying to explain something. So he's saying, suppose that I do this. It's not saying that he's doing it. It's not speaking about someone specific. It's just trying to teach something by making a supposition. All right. So that's why he says, if I speak in tongues of men and angels, but do not have love, then I become a noisy gong and clanging cymbal. So basically, there's not many annotations here other than if I speak with the tongues. Here is referring to tongues is not only the organ, right? It's not only the tongue. It's talking about languages, right? I'm gonna write it here, language. That's the translation there of that word. Then we have of men, of course, like we've said before, it is not talking only about males. It's talking about humans, right? Man is the human race or the humankind. Humans. And angels. Angels is also a word that it doesn't have many interpretations. An angel is an angel. It's a noun. But also angel, just the word angel means messenger. So I'm going to put it here. This doesn't necessarily change what Paul is saying or what the message is saying. Angel means messenger, but in this case, what the word really is, instead of saying in word of angels, it's saying angelical. That's why other translations, this is more accurate translation, all right? This one. Other translations you will see when you go to the Bible Hub and you read the parallel and you read other, it will say angelical tongues or tongues of men and angelical or angelical tongues. It's important you note that, because it's not necessarily making a reference to angels, but it's making a reference to the gift of tongues, to the heavenly given tongues. That's what this is making a reference to, right? So, but there's not much translation there. And then we're gonna say, but here's the key. Like I said, I already gave you the key to this Bible verse, and the whole chapter talks about love. That's the key. It's saying if you're speaking other languages, whether it's languages, you can be bilingual for all I care. That's what Paul is saying. You can be bilingual, trilingual. You can speak 5 languages if you will, or you can speak in tongues, in spiritual tongues, in angelical tongues. But all of that because the church was already in that flow of, we're speaking in tongues and we're so spiritual, and Paul is stopping them and saying, no, that you're doing, if you're not doing it with love, that's just noise. That's what he's saying. Now, what love is this referring to? Now, this is the key. Remember, in the Greek language, there were 3 kinds of love, and this is the one that we've been studying. You see, we've been focused, and in every single Bible verse, we found this love, which is agape love. And I'm going to put it here. So love, if you don't have agape love, I'm going to put the Greek word, okay? Agape. I'm going to put here, just so we know that that's the Greek word, which we know that means committed love. Committed. It means sacrificial love. It's giving, the kind of love that gives, giving love. It's not selfish love, not selfish. And basically, like we always say, is the love that God has. This is the kind of love that God loves us with. Agape love. It's a committed love, sacrificial love. That's why it says, for God so loved the world. God so agape the world that he gave. See, it's a love that gives. That he gave his son to die, sacrifice. It's a love that sacrifices. That's the kind of love that this is talking about. It's once again saying, if you don't have this kind of love, committed, sacrificial, giving, not selfish, but the kind of love that God has for us, then what you have become is a noisy gong. Basically here, noisy, it's the word is just a sound or a loud noise. So it's well translated there. Gong, it's in other versions it's translated to a metal, which it's really good translation because literally gong can be translated to brass, and even in some uses this word, not gong, but the original word that was written here can be translated to either copper or bronze, either or. It's talking about a musical instrument made out of one of these metals, whether it was bronze or copper, doesn't matter. It's just saying it's like a loud metal, whether it's a brass, which could be like a trumpet or something like that, or a big gong-like instrument. I will lean a little bit more towards it being brass. What we now know as brass is trumpet, you know, like a big trumpet, and there were trumpets in those times in their culture, and they used the trumpet. So I will lean more towards that more than a gong, because it's already talking about a cymbal later, all right, in the next expression. So I lean more at this being a trumpet-like or a brass, what we call brass instrument, all right, or a clanging cymbal. This is same thing. There's not much translation to it. It's just a clash. It could be translated to a clash or to a wailing. Cymbal, it's a cymbal, all right. There's not much to it. This is just a cymbal instrument. We still have cymbals today with the drums, right? Okay, so that's it. That's all we have. You may say, okay, well, there wasn't, like I told you from the beginning, there's not a lot of revelation here other than love, which is the point. I love the Word of God because it's trying to not take away the main point. What this is saying is what it's saying. It's the first rule of hermeneutics, of interpretation of the Bible is, it says what it says. It says that if you're speaking in tongues, if you're speaking in either human, you know, if you speak English, Italian, French, and Arabic, and at the same time also you speak angelical tongues and heavenly tongues, but if you do not have love, this is the key. If you do not have a love, but the kind of love that it's committed, that it's giving to others. So if you're not caring for others, all you're doing is noise. That's what it's saying. Or you have become just a loud noise, just a clashing cymbal, just a wailing, just a noise. You're nothing. You know, a little bit later it says, I'm nothing if I don't have love. If I don't have love, I'm nothing. This is what it's saying. It keeps going. I encourage you to read the whole, at least the first 3 or 4 verses of this chapter, and you will see it keeps with the same idea. It keeps saying, if I know science and if I can discover all these things, and I'm an inventor and I do all these things, but I have no love, I'm nothing. You know, if I am rich, it says, if I am rich and I feed, you know, the poor and I do great things, but if I don't do it with love, it's just nothing. It's vain. It's just a big noise. That's what this Bible verse is saying. So let's go and let's use basically our highlighters. This is just a teaching. You know, there's not necessarily it's an advice, it's a teaching. So we're going to use the yellow, which is the one I use for every time that we see something that it's an advice for me. So it's saying, hey, suppose that that's what Paul is saying, suppose that I speak in tongues of men and tongues of heaven, and I do it without love. All I'm doing is noise. All I'm doing is noise. So it's almost putting it in question, is that what you want? You know, it's a rhetorical question, right? Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Do you want to just make noise? So there's an advice there. I like using the traffic light that tells me there's an advice, because when I read this Bible verse, I wanna be advised that I don't wanna be just a noise. So this is an advice. You wanna not be just noise, then you gotta avoid doing things without love. Especially if there are things that, quote, are spiritual, unquote, spiritual things. Oh yes, I go to church. Oh yes, I read the Bible. Oh, I speak in tongues, I prophesy, I do miracles, I pray for people. If you don't do it with love, that's just noise. That's just nothing. It's incredible how much, God wants from you just honesty and not a show. God doesn't want a show. Now, like I said, the key thing of this whole Bible verse and the whole chapter is love. I'm gonna do this because this is the key. Now, I have, I have a symbol for love. I'm gonna put it. I guess I'm gonna put it right here. I guess I'm gonna delete some of this. There. I'm gonna put it right there. So my symbol for love is, because I want to identify what kind of love is it. So I use the heart, and then I put an A on the center, which tells me is talking about agape love. And then I'm going to highlight it with red. And now I know there is a big reference there about sacrificial love, big reference about giving, not selfish, committed type of love. And that's it. That is the Bible verse of the day. You have to do things with love. You got to do things showing the love that God has for us. There's many people that maybe, let me put this an example to finish. Maybe you are boasting, saying how good things you do. Today we a lot of the things that we're living today, this Bible verse is really relevant for these days, because a lot of people are making a lot of noise in social media. You see, a lot of people are posting noisy gongs. Let me preach to you just for a second here. A lot of people, you know what their posts are, and their updates and their status, how do you say that? Their posts online, they're noisy gongs, they're clanging cymbals, claiming that they do all these spiritual things, but if they're not doing it with love, all that is noisy gongs. I'm not saying everybody. No, hear me out. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm not complaining or saying anything, but I'm saying, what's the point for you? Evaluate yourself. To post something or to say that you're doing something to make you seem spiritual, because that's what will happen with the church here. They're we're speaking tongues, we're so spiritual, God is with us. But if you're not showing love, when love is due, when love is needed, you're not sacrificing yourself, you're not giving, you're still in the comfort of your selfishness and egocentric life, then that's just a noise. It doesn't matter how many likes it gets. It's just noise. It's just a symbol. It's just a clanging, wailing sound. I hope this is speaking to you, because God is speaking to me about do things with love. That's the whole purpose of this verse and the whole chapter. Do things with love. And what is actually, this is really good, because we've been speaking since we started using, and I started teaching through this through these videos. I started teaching about the agape love, right? I started saying, hey, there's 3 types of love, and we've been studying agape love, and I've been translating to committed, sacrificial, giving. You want to find out what is the greatest definition of agape love? Read 1 Corinthians 13. Read the whole chapter. And once you start saying love is, it's talking about agape love. It's saying agape love is. You want to know what agape love is? Read this chapter and you'll find out. Love is. You'll find out what kind of love you should have, and what kind of love God has for you and for me. All right. I'll see you tomorrow for the next Bible verse of the day.